guys, it's Janie. Welcome back to the Bookworms, buddy. We are now on day 11 of our 12 days of Christmas, and today I wanted to give you my list of favorites for the year. These books were all 5-star reads, and there'll be one for each month from January through December. It's just a little something that we do in my group. First book for January is The Woods by Harlan Coben. This was a fantastic read, but you guys know I love Harlan Coben's writing. He's just very fluid, very easy to read. I've not been disappointed by anything that he has written. So this one is about a man who's Paul Copeland. His sister disappeared like 20 years ago. She went into the woods and she never came back. You know, now through his life, he's still struggling with that. He's struggling with raising a 6-year-old daughter, and now he's on one of the biggest cases of his career. That is linked to a boy who also might have disappeared into the woods with his sister. The story goes on from there. Very good writing. Loved this book. Then for February, Predator 1 by Jonathan Maberry. This is book number 7 to the Joe Ledger series, and you guys know how I feel about these books. I don't really have to tell you much more. Joe Ledger is just a fantastic character. Jonathan Maberry is a very gifted writer. And I can never stress enough how much you guys need to read this series, starting with Patient Zero. So this one is my favorite for February. Moving on to March, Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first book to the Grisha trilogy, and now I didn't read the other two, so I'm going to have to read this book again, but I really enjoyed this story. You guys all know about the Grisha trilogy, but I think I'm going to reread it for this next year when I read the other two books so I can finish this trilogy up for my series-a-thon. So yeah, Shadow and Bone. For April, I chose Finders Keepers. This book is by Stephen King and is book 2 in the Bill Hodges trilogy. I don't want to tell you about this one since it's book 2, but Mr. Mercedes was about a man who got into the Mercedes and he went to a job fair and ran over a bunch of people. The story continues with that in mind with these other two books for this trilogy. So yes, Finders Keepers is my favorite for April. For May was my first experience with the series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket, and my niece kept telling me how good this series was. It is a little darker for middle grade, I think. It's more in between that and YA, or closer to YA, but it's just really unfortunate. These kids don't ever get a break. Everything that happens is unfortunate. It's just something that you guys should read. They're fun, quick reads. So yeah, this one is The Bad Beginning. And then for June, I decided to read Creep. This is by Jennifer Hillier, and I had this book forever. Just now decided to, just this year, picked it up. I've had it probably a year and a half before that. Okay, so this book is really just a thriller of a deadly attraction, and I don't want to give too much away, but she's being watched. That's all I'm going to tell you. And this was fantastic. And there is another book called Freak, and I also read that one in the same month because this one I read it and I'm like, oh, I want to read the second one. So yeah, Creep by Jennifer Hillier. And then for July, my favorite was High Profile. This one is book number 6 to the Jesse Stone series by Robert B. Parker, and I'm enjoying the Jesse Stone series. I've already talked about Jesse Stone with you guys a lot, and I am now on book 11 for this series, but this one was great. The whole series is great. You gotta love Jesse Stone. He's a detective, and he moves to Paradise because he gets fired from his job as homicide detective in California because he was an alcoholic, and he moves into Paradise and he becomes the chief of police. They thought he was going to be a big failure, and he's not. He cleans up the town, and then these are just cases that go on in Paradise. So definitely pick up the Jesse Stone series. Very good series, so pick this one up. And then for August, my favorite was Winter by Marissa Meyer. Now, I picked it up actually in July, but my family came to visit from Indiana, and I just couldn't get into the book because, you know, I wanted to spend time with them. So I put the book down, and then in August I picked it back up, and then it was my favorite of the series. Absolutely love this one. It is bigger than the other ones, but it was so good. If you've not read the Lunar Chronicles, you need to read the Lunar Chronicles because it is a great series. I am so glad that Shannon had picked Cinder for me for a Pick 5 challenge because I never figured I'd pick them up and read them. Well, she challenged me to read that, fell in love with the first book, continued the series, finished it with Winter. Fantastic. Then for September was End of Watch. I do not own this book yet. I got this from the library. Fantastic. This is the final book to the Bill Hodges trilogy. But End of Watch was fantastic. I absolutely loved this series, you guys. It was great. It starts with Mr. Mercedes, Finders Keepers, and then End of Watch. I'm not going to tell you anything about this, but like I said before, Mr. Mercedes was the guy who drew the card into the crowd of people, and it's a mystery thriller kind of story written by Stephen King. It's great, so pick up that trilogy if you ever get the chance. And then for October, my favorite was Salem's Lot. It had been years since I read this book. Years. And I did this with a buddy read. I believe it was Janelle and I read this, and I absolutely loved it. It made me remember why I liked this the first time I read it. These are your hardcore, gritty vampires, not the vampires who just, you know, are foo-foo and all that stuff. So this is some hardcore vampire stuff. Loved it, loved it, loved it. If you've not read Salem's Lot and you like vampires, pick this one up. Then for November, my favorite book was Faithless by Karen Slaughter. This is book number 5 to the Grant County series. I started this series this year and I finished the series this year. Yeah, this is fantastic. I love Karen Slaughter's writing. She's fantastic. This series does come before the Will Trent series though. So yeah, there's Faithless. And then for December, I chose Beyond Reach, which is the final book to the Grant County series. At least we think it's the final book. You never know. By Karen Slaughter. What a great wrap-up to the series. A little sad, and I think I got a little boo-boo at the end of this book, but it was so great. Absolutely loved it. The spoiler that I learned in the Will Trent series happened in this book. I can't believe it was way to the last book, but so good. You guys want a good mystery series by a very strong female writer, choose Karen Slaughter's Grant County or Will Trent series. Both fantastic. Those are my favorites for 2016. If you've read any of these books and you like them as well, let me know in the comments below. What books were your favorites? Also include those in the comments below and we will talk about it. Thanks guys for staying tuned, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.